Audio quality is good. I'm recording now, so just feel free to start whenever.
All right. Welcome to the official, unofficial Sea of Thieves podcast, a podcast dedicated to Sea of Thieves and other rare games, but mainly Sea of Thieves. Today, it's a special episode since we are right in the middle of the second community event, and I say right in the middle, as of recording, that's true, but probably not when this podcast comes out. Either way, right now, players all over the Seven Seas have declared for either Pendragon or Flameheart, and the seas are bursting with activity. It seems most players are throwing away their morality, but is resurrecting Flameheart actually the right thing to do? I don't know, but we will discuss this and more right now. And just like always, I have my wonderful co-host to help me out.
Hello, it's me, the number one Flameheart fanboy, Reaper connoisseur, AShinyRay.
I had a comment saying that it translated to femboy instead of fanboy, the subtitles when I was talking about you.
Wait, are you saying fanboy or femboy?
Femboy.
Like FEMBOY?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, I'm definitely not the number one Reaper femboy. Definitely not.
All right. Need to work on my English. I like it when my subscribers correct me. So let's start the podcast with begging for money, as we usually do. So if you want to help support this podcast financially, you can. You can do it two ways, or you can do it one way because I'm betting the link to the post is still not ready.
Well, we know that's not my fault. I'm waiting.
And it's not your fault.
I'm waiting for it. I'm waiting for it.
It will be a glorious day when that link is ready. If the link is there, the posters, it looks amazing, the poster. If you want to support us another way, you can use super thanks. And even leaving a thumbs up does help a lot. So if you want to be cheap, like me, leave a thumbs up. So let's get into the summary for this adventure. It's going to be a small one. It's not that complicated this time. The time of resurrection has arrived. Flameheart's return seems inevitable, and the Reapers are collecting bewitching dolls to help assist their ritual. Meanwhile, Belle and Pendragon try to complete the same ritual, but use another vessel. They are using a painting to lock away Flameheart in the Sea of the Damned. Players are tasked with collecting these dolls from sea forts while also raising the flags of their faction to further power up these dolls. After 2 weeks, or a couple of days, or 1 week, whenever this podcast comes out, it will be over, and we will either have Flameheart's resurrection or a bunch of salty Reapers that will never play the game. So yeah, quick summary, but also pretty straightforward.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I left the pause for a little bit too long. Then I thought you were going to go straight into the first question, but yeah, it's maybe the most simple adventure we've had. No, I'd say Forts of the Forgotten, but let's not talk about Forts of the Forgotten, shall we?
Yeah, Forts of the Forgotten was just going to the forts, and now we actually need to race and bring stuff back. But do we like this adventure?
Yeah, I think it's quite. It's not like mind blowing. Don't get me wrong, but it's fun for something that you can grind out, and it also adds that new mechanic of the flag, the sort of capture the hill-esque game mode. Yeah, I think it's better than Lost Sands in terms of gameplay for sure.
Yeah, I really like the way this adventure is set up. Does need a little bit more balancing, but overall the tasks are the same. We're doing the same stuff. It's good for PvP. You can see the progress on the server really well. It's another excuse to do alliances, which I don't often do, but for this adventure, yeah, why not? Let's batch those Reapers. And if I'm gonna be real honest, like I wouldn't mind if something like this, this King of the Hill battle type would remain in Sea of Thieves. I don't know how you feel about that.
Yeah, it would be nice to see. I know Rare did have the history of the Soul Flame robots where they removed them, despite them being a really popular aspect of Lost Sands. I don't see it staying, but it could also be, I don't know, like repurposed as a feature in the future, maybe next year, possibly.
Yeah, like I wouldn't be opposed to a system where if you raise multiple flags and you control the most forts, that certain loot will give you more gold or more reputation when you turn it in. I think that can work.
It could work for you know how you start the Fort of the Damned? Instead of doing something like that, you'd have, say, a sea fort that the longer you hold it with your flag up, the more loot that spawns in the vault. And after
Mm.
an X amount of time, you can open that door and cash it in yourselves, or someone can come to you, and if they sink you, say you can't go X amount of distance from the fort, they get whatever loot's inside, and obviously you can come back and fight over it again. But I think there's potential here.
Yeah. Will they ever do it?
No.
No. I'm thinking the same thing. I even thought, wow, this could be a cool mode for arena, but it would be a bit too long for arena, I think. But still, it needs those PvP elements to get us excited again. And I think there's some opportunity there.
You have all those cool sort of playground of the actual fort design themselves, as well as the role
Yeah.
playing aspect. But how often do you really fight people at forts? Like, it's it's often you will just pull up to them when they're fighting the phantoms or taking the treasure out the vault, and you destroy them before they even realize you're there because of all the blind spots.
Hmm. Yeah, maybe, but that's also because most players are inexperienced, I would say. We have fought nice battles and used the fort to our advantage as well. Like I have good memories about PvPing around those forts, so yeah.
Well, there was footage of us sinking someone out of fort the other day on your channel,
Yeah.
wasn't there?
Yeah, that was really great. That's if you want to see how me and Ray play together, watch my review and you see a nice clip of us strategizing.
You mean bullying a solo sleeper that scuttled as soon as we... That definitely didn't happen, did it?
All right, we also have clips of that. That's true.
Different clips.
I um, how did our communities react to this adventure? What did you see?
Negatively, I think.
Oh, really? Oh, tell me, please.
First of all, there was the initial concern of the choice itself, where could
Mm.
Flameheart's resurrection into a full body be a choice? It's something that I don't believe should be a choice, even though at the time of the video, at the time of the recording, sorry, Flameheart is firmly in the lead from what we can tell. But
Hmm.
it's the prospect of it not happening, and then we're just going back to square one instead of like the progress we've had over the last 9 months or so.
Hmm.
Um, and then yeah, we'll get into it a bit later, but then there's also the aspect of people not really thinking the choice is very good because Flameheart's the obvious choice. So,
Hmm. Yep. I mean,
well,
I've seen a lot of people switching sides for this adventure, and I really don't blame them.
yeah, so we'll cover that more in depth later on, but I don't think this has had a positive reaction in the same way Lost Sands did. Lost Sands was more divisive and more toxic in terms of
Hmm.
how the community were behaving, but
Hmm.
that also drives engagement and people to play the event. And I don't think this necessarily stacks up, which actually leads us into our next question. Um, and I'll ask you this one. I'll steal it from you. How does it
Sure.
compare for you to Los Sands?
Oh, well, really mixed bag actually, because on one hand, the actual adventure it's more balanced, and that's what we wanted from Lost Sands, and that's what we got. Plus, it's PvP all over the seas, which for Lost Sands was just a small part around New Golden Sands. Um, yeah, I think it's better in every single way except the actual choice.
Yeah, I think that's a really fair assessment. I think Rare have underestimated Flameheart's popularity.
Hmm.
Or not so much underestimated it because there's a lot of people that don't like Flameheart because he's an evil bastard. He's an evil bastard, isn't he? So
Yeah,
he's
but that's sorry for interrupting you, but that's my feeling as well. Like I want to beat Flameheart, but I want him in the game. Like, come on, I want him in the game. So.
yeah. So when you get this decision, you get Pendragon, who is a popular character as far as things go, but he's not
Mhm.
a Ramsey, is he? He's not.
To me, he is, but I get what
To
your
you
point.
he is, but to the wider community he's not. Whereas Flameheart is, he's a top two character between him and Ramsey. He could be the most popular character in the game. And he's not even in it properly.
Hmm.
He's reached the meme status of the bobblehead. He's been teased since Tales from the Sea of Thieves and arguably more with the statues in the E3 2016 cinematic
Hmm.
trailer. And you've had this story rolling in from 2019 through Seabound Soul, which is a lot of people's favorite tall tale, and Heart of Fire comes after it. and then it stops. And then when we get a
Yeah.
taste of it and we get the choice to bring him back, I think Rare really misjudged the popularity between the two characters there. If it was Ramsey, it'd probably be closer.
Okay. Yeah, could be. Or Blind Bob.
Blind Bob would win. I would fight. You know what? I'd probably fight for Blind Bob there. That's how popular Blind Bob is.
Yeah, but you're absolutely right, and I think they really made a mistake. I really thought people because it's a rare character, right? So the developers they put Arthur Pendragon in the game because they love him so much because he appeared in 4 other games, and you can tell that they love Pendragon more than the average player. But it doesn't reflect their feelings. So it's not 50-50. And of course they must have thought it was 50-50 or close, otherwise they would not make this choice in the first place. So yeah, they misjudged that a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, there's not really much more to say about that.
Not really.
It's pretty straightforward, and you can tell from how we went in with the polls, and we saw. I don't know if you ran a poll before, but I know Falcor did, and I did
Hmm.
about whether you were Team Reaper and Athena, and even
Hmm.
my channel got Team Athena by I think it was 10 or 5%. I can't remember the exact stat, but when it
Yeah,
comes to revive Flameheart or not revive him, it was 80-20. And what
yeah,
between when Arthur came back as the sort of if Flameheart comes back, then Arthur goes. That only swayed the polls by about 2%, and
yeah.
that is really significant. Even after the trailer as well, it just
Right.
shows how popular Flameheart is for the community, or him coming back anyway.
Yeah, exactly. And I see it in my community too, just slightly above 20% that want to save Arthur, which I kind of get. I got like it's slightly higher than some channels. I feel like because I declared for Athena before, so a lot of people subscribe to my channel because they know I'm an Athena guy. So I guess that's why they subscribe. And I also saw polls for at Fuzzy Bond and his community also wants slightly more Arthur. And with slightly more Arthur, I mean 25% instead of 20%. But that's about it. So even the good guys want Flameward back.
And we've seen a lot of people in our communities as individuals have said, "Oh, I'm diehard Athena, but I want Flameheart back." Like,
Yeah.
you do have people that stick to their guns, and
Hmm.
they will grind out the Pendragon side, but a
Hmm.
lot of the Athenas I've seen have been, I'm not going to bother with this. I'll get the rewards, and I don't care enough to fight against the Reapers, or I will actively fight for the Reapers to get Flameheart back.
Aye,
Which,
exactly.
which is really impressive. Like, not for Rare. I'm pretty sure they're pretty pissed off about that, but for us and for me, that's really good.
Yeah. Yeah. And like I've said many times before, it's 50-50 for me. But I'm happy to rally for Arthur.
It's
Um,
it's interesting, isn't it? Like, I care more about Flameheart coming back than ruining Lost Sands, but been less engaged in this. And I think it's
mm,
because there's just this general one. I think obviously the season's quite old, but I think there's this just general mehness towards the choice because
mhm.
it's that there's that big disparity. Obviously, we'll find out hopefully next Friday with the results. Hopefully, we get some stats, but do you want to talk
Yeah,
about that now quickly about the results that were posted yesterday?
yeah, sure. But let's combine that with a question from one of our subscribers.
Nice segue.
All right. So this question comes from Captain Jägner. Should results be visible instantly or rather spread with time, like golden sands?
So that's a really good question, and there's a few schools of thought with this one. So Rare are damned if they do, damned if they don't with this one, because with Lost Sands we had an on-demand counter
Hmm.
showing on the website, and it only changed if there was a certain threshold. And then we had the fog, which was a really cool design decision, and they had statistics being posted, and it knew the community exactly when they had to pick up the slack, both in game and when they post the statistics. But I remember, and I think you do as well, there was so many fixing and rigged allegations because they were showing the stats that they simply
Hmm.
didn't believe them, and these stats were obviously real. Why would
Hmm.
why would Rare like lie about that? And then when it's come back to Return of the Damned, they're not showing the stats because they get called rigged anyway, and they can't win. They're in a catch-22 here.
Hmm. But what would you prefer? Show stats or no?
Personally, I'd like to show stats, but I think the reason they haven't done it this time is that they've looked at the data from the first week and thought, "Oh shit! Like if we release these stats, then
Aye,
Pendragon's going to give up, and Flameheart fans are going to give up because it leads that much."
aye.
I think it must be at over 60-40%, because if it was closer than that, that's like there's tipping point potential there.
Yeah, you would have shown it.
I reckon
Um,
it's like 60-40 at the very closest.
yeah, I think it's 2080.
Really?
Um, Maybe not even, because it's also really nice to be Reapers. Like I've told this in my review, you can just put on the Reaper Emissary and just kill and sink everybody while you're doing your forts, and then turn in at Junior who's at the dock. So why wouldn't a regular player play as Reapers, even if you're not interested in the choice? Might as well might as well go Reaper and sink everybody.
That's funny as well, because if you don't do the voyage, as far as I
Hmm.
know, the dolls still spawn, and they'll just be treated as loot anyway if you're just PV grinding it as a Reaper Emissary.
Hmm.
So, again, there's this balance thing, like Lost Sands with the rum bottles. Like, not every avenue's being covered. It's very hard to cheese this, but,
Hmm.
when you stack all these things together, like Flameheart, people want Flameheart back, and then the mechanics themselves, I can see why, you could get up to like a 20-80 split.
Yeah.
And if we reference the polls being about 20-80, like average across the board, that was very reflective of Lost Sands because it was about 45-55 split, wasn't it? All about 40-60 in some cases.
Um, Yeah, depends when you asked it, because a lot of people really want to save Golden Sands, and that was before the alternative, before the aberrations started appearing on Golden Sands, and then people were getting more motivated for Reapers as well. Um, I can't really remember how it was during the adventure. I know before the adventure, most people wanted to save Golden Sands. Yeah.
Yeah, and obviously, a lot of content creators were pro Reaper, like myself, Valcor, Blurbs. Trying to think who else now. Say a
Yeah.
lot, can't even remember them.
And they all lost.
They all lost, yeah.
It was close though, and that's pretty interesting too, because Rare did make a statement about results. They didn't show it exactly. They only said that Reapers are pretty much winning at the moment, but Athena is catching up every day slightly more, which was similar to Lost Sense. Would you say?
I don't think they're telling the truth of that. Well, they are. They're telling.
Oh,
I
okay.
think they're telling a half truth. I think the statement's vague, isn't it? They're saying that Pendragon's team's doubling their efforts, or they're ramping up the efforts, whatever term they used.
Mhm.
That could be like a 0.1% change in velocity for Pendragon's team. Like
Aye.
they could close the gap, but it could be just at such a small rate. And equally, the Flameheart team could be increasing it in an even higher rate. So the statement's still true, but
Mhm.
it means that they just won't ever catch up. And like I said, if it was close, there would be some stats, or Rare would be able to twist some stats to say like, look, this is still anyone's game here.
I still think they should have been honest with their stats and just showed it. One plus sides of showing the stats is if your side is losing, you will get motivated to put in more effort. I was for Lost Sands. We were losing all the time, and I was going hard because, well, not hard for me, and not as hard as some people. Like there's some crazy people that are doing the rounds, but I was motivated to put in more effort for sure when we were losing. Yeah.
Yeah, it's true. And I think you do, like you said, you do have the motivation, but you have the opposite end where it just kills all motivation.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I guess I forgot what I was going to say now. I guess I sort of feel sorry with Rare here that they've put all this effort into this choice and they've just misjudged it. Um,
Yeah.
and it's not been the boost for the game that it should have been, and it's
Aye.
not been the engagement that they were hoping for the end of the season. And I'm
Mm.
a little bit upset that we used the climax for the adventure for a choice. I think the climax for the adventure should be the big set pieces like Shrouded Shrouded Deep, and Hunter's Cry rather than a really simple adventure that's a choice. I think that's like a start of an arc sort of thing, but if it bleeds into season 8, I can sort of understand that.
Okay. I actually like it, the finale to be a choice, actually. Yeah.
It just means that we'll be waiting a little bit longer for that arc to pay off. Like with the Merrick arc, we only had to wait 2 adventures, and then we've got seemingly a Briggsy arc coming up, and we're going to have to wait 4 months for this to pay off now.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. I mean, whatever happens, it will be a while before we get a reward. That's true.
Yeah, it's true. Surely, like, Pendragon's gone straight away, and then Flameheart must be in his coffin for a long time, because there's no way he's hopping out straight away, is there?
Yeah, so don't expect Flamewar to be hopping around in the next season, just walking around.
Yeah, we've done it, but he needs a while. Like, he's been dead for
Yeah.
8 years. Like, give him some time and he'll get up by himself. He doesn't need your assistance. Like,
Well, or he's fighting with the soul of Stitcher Jim. Have you thought about that?
uh, no, and I don't think Rare's gonna follow through with that.
It would be too interesting.
It would actually be a better explanation for the skull.
Yes.
Which we'll cover that shortly, won't we?
Yeah, we will. Yeah, we'll talk more about this. We also have listener questions as well about that.
Good.
But to hop around to a different topic, did I steal your thumbnail?
Have people been accusing you of stealing my thumbnail?
Yes.
Really?
Yes. Yeah.
No way.
Yes. I got some people today would say, "Oh, you stole this from AShinyRay. I'm unsubscribing now." Like, okay, AShinyRay made this thumbnail for me, but that's fine. You do you.
I don't believe you. I'm gonna have a look now.
Oh, I have several. Say it for off the podcast. Just trust my word for this.
No way are people that. I don't like talking ill of people, but no way are people that dull.
Maybe some of them were jokes, but I don't know. There would have been an emoji notifying me of that being a joke, but there wasn't.
You would think so, wouldn't you? But it's
Yeah.
hard to tell sarcasm on the internet, isn't it?
It is. It's really hard. Yeah. That's why I'm also really forgiving with comments.
Oh, here we go. Nice thumbnail. Didn't you steal it from AShinyRay? AShinyRay made it for me. We also have a podcast together. Just puts K, so he's being serious.
But can you feel the K? Like, I'm not even gonna watch the podcast too. Like,
K, whatever you say. Like, I can't believe you just mugged me off. Like, I did see someone else be quite like nasty, and they were like, I'll have a look at the comment now because it didn't make me laugh. Where's it gone? Oh, weak propaganda, Flameheart forever. AShinyRay sends his regards, like as if we're not friends.
I indeed. People forget it every while. We need to get this podcast out to more people, I feel.
Yeah, we do. We need to promote it.
Let's get back to the topic. One thing when we're talking about balancing, one thing I want to mention. Ashen Lords can spawn at Shipwreck Bay. How do you feel about that?
I think it's great. It's very lore meta, isn't it? And I think it's even better that you can spawn the ghost fleets there because they're loyal to Flameheart. So that is exactly what Flameheart would do. It's like, oh guys, do you think we'd pick a better island for that? Nah, there's no way Flameheart would spawn an Ashen Lord here to prevent us from doing anything. Oh no, he did exactly what he thought he wasn't going to do.
Yeah, it's fun, but it shouldn't be there. And we talked about that with the last adventure as well, when we went to the islands in the Devil's Roar, and we were listening to Arthur talk and just listening to the dialogue, and we get attacked by skeletons. I'm like, come on, guys, just turn these spawns off for the adventure. And I wish they did that a bit more often, especially now with Shipwreck Bay as well. Like, just turn it off when that island is part of an adventure. Maybe it's hard. Maybe it isn't, I don't know, but I want them to do it.
It is funny when Belle's like putting the skull of the Grey Warrior back together and you just get attacked by ocean crawlers and you're like, that's just ruined the complete cinematic element of this moment, hasn't it?
But so does playing with certain crew members of ours.
I can feel the shade through the microphone. That is not me, guys. I'm really good at watching cutscenes and stuff and shutting up.
Yeah, Ray shuts up. I mean, of course we do. Like, we like the lore. We want to listen to every nuance. You want to listen to the beautiful voice of Arthur Pendragon?
Or unnamed crew member who's not the helm or the border. I wonder who that is. And who's not
All
a
right,
female pirate.
that's yeah. Come on, he knows who it is. He knows who it is.
He's laughing right now, isn't he?
I hope so. That's enough shade. So anything else you want to talk about, or communities, or the gameplay part of this adventure?
Can I bring this one up because it's on there and you haven't asked it yet? You're probably going to ask me next. And the question is, can you feel the delay of this adventure?
Can you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is really interesting, right? And I'm sure you're prepared to say this, but so Mike says this bakes into season 8, or adventures will be baking into season 8, won't they? Sorry, seasons will be more tied in with adventures and vice versa going forwards from that podcast at Gamescom. This is what I don't get. So there's parts of the promotional material that you can see 2 new areas for Pendragon side and Flameheart side that we've not seen before. And
New area for Pendragon?
or I guess like it would be the Athena side. Like in the background you can see like a bookshelf.
Oh yeah.
with some voyages. Do you know what I'm talking about?
With those ghostly pirates in the background.
Yeah, and on
Yeah,
Flameheart's team you can see like it's like a golden fiery background, and you can see Roots and his coffin, like half of it on that promotional image. And there's been no talk of this at all. And, you know, I think people have been so excited about the decision, or disappointed in some cases, that no one's really discussed this. And of course, we had the season 8 tease on Halloween with the skeletons, didn't we? And those new sails and the figurehead, and that hourglass that you see on the Reaper's table. So, you know, it's all ramping up to there being at least a Reaper expansion in season 8. In season 8.
Yeah, those embers too, right? Let's not forget the embers.
Exactly. So, oh yeah, and the embers. So, what is really strange now is if you look back on it, this would have been an adventure for season 8, right? We would have had 2 adventures already for season 8 because it was coming back in September. We would have had October and November's adventures as part of season 8 before the delay.
And this adventure happening before Halloween, so the actual time of resurrection would have been during Halloween weekend.
Yeah, exactly that as well. So you have this really weird like mismatch of, I guess this might have made more sense during season 8, depending on what's coming, but they've also left that element of that margin of error where they've got a bit of wiggle room with these adventures. But it also does show how quickly these are made, if they're able to adapt. When did we get the delay of season 8? Back in August, wasn't it? So that's 3 months or so, less than that.
Yeah, so what you're saying is that they're bad at making initial plans, but they're really good at
improvising.
Improvising, yes.
I think there needs to be this fluidity of development, especially a live service game. But yeah, it's really weird when you consider the implications and how bad that delay was potentially for adventures and seasons.
Yeah, from a story perspective, it would have been better if there were no delays, but oh well. Perfect world, and we're not living in it, sadly.
Depressing.
Anything else you want to talk about the delay?
Just really upset that we'd be coming up to season 9 now rather than season 8. It's been a long year, and I think this would have been the best year for Sea of Thieves if it wasn't for that delay.
Yeah, it would have been a bit better. That's true. All right, so let's go to the lore. Not a lot, but what we do have is quite interesting. We have 6 forts. What's the role of these 6 forts?
Well, they're a giant Fort of the Damned ritual, essentially. So those of you who didn't play during 2019, towards the end of 2019, we got these new monthly updates, which essentially started the story of Flameheart, and the first 4 or so were a build up to that. And in the October 2019, we had Fort of the Damned, and the story goes that Stitcher Jim used the dark relics that we see in the game now that have appeared in the adventures, and he performed a ritual on Old Boot Fort, and then Old Boot Fort was turned into the Fort of the Damned. And then to start the Fort of the Damned, you need 6 Flames of Fate, and when you do, it allows essentially It allows you to open up a gate to the Sea of the Damned and someone to come through. We see this happen with the Ghost of Grey Marrow. So the smaller ritual obviously is just bringing forward a ghost. But this larger ritual with the 6 forts with the Flames of Fate, that's gonna hopefully be strong enough to bring back a physical Captain Flameheart. Have I got that right?
I just assumed that his ego was bigger than Grey Marrow, and that's why he needed the bigger ritual.
I suppose if his ghost does come back, it will just go into the body, won't it?
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
We do fight, I guess, a weakened Grey Marrow at the Fort of the Damned, so I think Junior wants to make sure that Flameheart's back in his full power.
Yeah. No room for error.
No room for error, because once he's
Aye.
back, he's going to be hard to get rid of.
Aye, indeed. Just wanted to add that these forts also power up the dolls. So that's why they're being kept at the forts. So that's that lore explanation.
Oh, I missed that. That's very astute of you.
That's how I am.
Exactly. Taught you well, haven't I? No, you're the one who comes up with these details more than me, really, aren't you?
Sometimes a little. I mean, you pointed out the Flameheart's finger. Like, I can't believe I missed that back then.
What about his finger?
Well, that Sister Jim was wearing it when he took over as the Bilge Rats.
Oh yeah, and what's really funny as well is that the model's missing his finger again in Return of the Damned.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's sloppy.
It's the old model, yeah.
Oh, that's sloppy. That's really sloppy. They did use a new skull, right? Like it's a little fractured.
No,
Just a little.
no,
Isn't it?
no.
Oh, it's totally.
Yeah, we can go on to the
Totally
next
smooth.
question because that's all part
Because
of it.
the next question is, how do you feel about Jim's skull? How do you feel about that?
It was going to be really harsh here. There's been very sloppy writing, and it seems like you're writing your way round so you don't have to make a new model. But there was a
Yeah.
new model made for the trailer, and that's done in Unreal. But I know horses for courses and shit like that. But
Is that made in-house? Those trailers, do you know?
I think Flix Interactive works with Rare, and it's all animated in Unreal Engine.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm sure the assets are like portable, if that makes sense.
Okay.
Because like surely Bell and Ramsey's models are just a higher res model used for a cutscene.
Mm-hmm.
Because it looks exactly like the model, doesn't it?
Yeah, they
better
look pretty similar,
resolution.
yeah.
So sorry, to go back to Jim's skull, do you want me to just explain what happened with it?
Yeah, go for it.
So at the end of Herald of the Flame, we hear from Pendragon at the end of the adventure. He goes back to Molten Sands Fortress, and the remains of both Flameheart and Stitcher Jim are gone. Cool, they messed up again. And what the Servant of the Flame does, which is explained in one of the journals, he uses the remains of Flameheart, because his skull's now gone, and the remains of Stitcher Jim to sort of create a Franken Flameheart. But the ritual, this is so stupid, the ritual turns Jim's skull into a visage that more matches Captain Flameheart Sr.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that's why the model looks exactly the same as the one in Seabound Soul.
Aye.
So we in the course of this whole story with Flameheart, Skull gets destroyed by by Captain Pendragon. Jim rebuilds the same skull. The new skull, or the old skull, should I say, is destroyed by by Pendragon. So then the Servant of the Flame uses Jim's skull to turn it back into Captain Flameheart's. So there's been two people's physical anatomy involved, right?
Mm-hmm.
One's been transformed into Flameheart's skull, and one's been Flameheart's skull repaired into Flameheart's skull. Like, do you know what they should have done? Just not allowed Pendragon to destroy the skull at the end of the adventure.
Yep.
You wouldn't have to write this. You wouldn't even have to create a model for Jim's remains on Flameheart's body. You would, because that now. Sorry to run. There's 3 models. There's the model in the trailer that we see, where he's got the gold bits in his skull. There's Jim's model, or Jim's head on Flameheart's body, and the Seabound Soul one, which we're using. You could have just used like one model for that.
Yeah.
Or I guess 2 if you're going to make Jim's Ashen Lord model, but it's needlessly complicated.
It is, unless, and I don't think this is the case, but I will forgive them if Stitcher Jim if there's a reason to this, like if Flameheart Soul and Stitcher Jim Soul are gonna fight, or if Jim wants to return to his original body again and is fighting Flameheart for it. But I don't really see that happening.
It would make sense in the context of how you'd expect a story to go, but it's also like, one, I think it would be a little bit lame for Flameheart to come back and he's, sharing a body with Jim.
Well, that could be the next part of the story, right? Like Flameheart is back, he's battling Jim, and a next decision could have been like, should we help Flameheart with his multiple personality disorder or not, or something like that, you know?
It also begs the question, like, if that was to happen, like, surely Flameheart would know that would happen and he'd find a way around it.
Yeah, or maybe this is his best bet anyways. I mean, it needs to happen. It's the time of the time of resurrection is now. So go, 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 get it done. Doesn't matter if it's Jim's Skull, we gotta go.
Well, we know that even if Flameheart's not successful, he's going to get a body later on anyway. So it just, yeah.
What do you mean? He's gonna get a body.
Well, the actual, when they do this is what's going to happen with the decisions. Essentially, if Flameheart loses, he'll just get denied a body for now. He'll get one later on anyway.
Oh, do you think that's gonna happen then?
If he loses, yeah, and Rare have stated as much.
Okay. Oh, I didn't know.
Which makes us largely pointless, so we should just cut the crap and, let's get that story thread over with so we can move on to new stories with whatever's going to happen.
Makes the decision even worse, right?
Yeah,
Knowing
it does.
that.
And when you say, oh, Flameheart's going to get a body anyway, so you can have him now or have him later, and it's like, oh, you can have him now, but Pendragon's gone, or you can wait, and then, that could be years for that to happen, given Rare's track record.
Yeah. Oh, well.
And Pendragon's going to come back anyway, isn't he?
I don't know. Like, I wouldn't mind him being dead, actually. It's one of my favorite characters for obvious reasons, mainly me being a Rare fan. But if he's dead, I don't mind. Like, we still have his past to enjoy, and it opens up possibilities for new characters, so I wouldn't really care.
Well, Rare's yet to kill off a character. Yeah, have they in the game?
Yeah, and I mean, I wish they did.
Grey Marrow came back. Goldhorder back twice. Jim back again. Wanda back. Flameheart's coming back. Merrick didn't die. Briggsy coming back, obviously.
Yeah. Maybe Ramsey's old crew.
Well, that was in a book, didn't they? So Mercy had died in the book, didn't she? That's fine.
Yeah.
Same with maybe Harkley and what's his face? Yellow Bandana Boy.
Yeah.
Got his name now, Scraps.
Scraps, yeah.
DeMarco gonna come back.
Nobody really dies. Yeah, I know. People need to die in this game. I agree. And I really hope Arthur would die, but I don't think he will.
No, exactly. That's why I think he'll come back regardless.
But to come back to the skull, it's a bit disappointing. I'm glad it's explained, but the actual explanation kind of sucks.
Yeah, it's I think it's a symptom of adventures, and lots of people said that the quality of writing has suffered because of them, and it does feel less cohesive than let's say the original Tall Tales, or even the first two of the Ashen Age Tall Tales of Heart of Fire and Seabound Soul.
Yeah. All right, let's go to something we both really like. What is the role of the Soul Flame captains in this adventure?
They're literally just like there to power up the dolls, and what's really annoying is that they just come through because of the ritual, and we still don't get an explanation of what they actually are.
So I feel they're just made of Soul Flame energy, and Soul Flame energy is this magical thing that can do whatever the plot needs it to do, as long as it's connected with the Sea of the Damned. We saw the same thing with Lost Sands. We used those Soul Flame kegs on those rowboats. And I feel that's the same type of energy that the Soul Flame captains produce. Do you agree with that?
I mean, who knows? That's probably the best bet. But I don't think we're just going to get an explanation at this point unless we ask Mike directly.
Aye, we will.
What is this, the fourth time we fought the Soul Flame captains?
Aye. But still, they're entities from the Sea of the Damned. They normally fight for Flameheart, but often Flameheart places them in positions to be killed, so their energy would get released.
That makes sense then with your explanation, doesn't it?
Yeah. So I'm a bit more confident now talking about these Soul Flame captains. I just wish I knew their origin story. That's all.
Just wish they got explained and we didn't have to fight them anymore.
All right.
They've really, really grown. I've grown to dislike them.
Hmm. Yeah, I can get that. Something else, lore wise, I read this in the journal on Shipwreck Bay. If Arthur wins, his sword will still be tainted by Flameheart. So, what do you think about that?
Sounds like Penny D isn't, planning this out very properly, is he? That sounds like a very dangerous thing to happen, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, he has a sword of souls, which can unbound people of their remains. But now, a part of Flameheart will be on that sword. It's weird. I wonder if they have something planned for that, or not.
Yeah, that would be interesting, wouldn't it? Like, does that mean Pendragon wields the power of Captain Flameheart then, or
Mm-hmm.
Flameheart is living in the sword, and is his soul going to be split between the painting and the sword then, and that's going to be his way back?
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, it sounds like their plan isn't foolproof, does it?
Yeah, I think this is just set up if they want to either kill off Pendragon in the future or want to revive Flameheart in the future. I think this is just a line there to open up possibilities for the future. Yeah.
Yeah, fair enough. We'll see what happens with that. I think that's probably more so if Flameheart's not resurrected, that'll be the thread. That'll be the plot thread that follows through.
I agree. Which is not going to
It's a
happen.
cool concept though, but I'd
It
rather have
is.
Flameheart come back.
Yeah, we all do. Well, I'm still fighting for Arthur. I really am, though. Let's go to the final bit of lore I want to discuss. Ewash sent me this bit of text that was on the website explaining the adventure, and it also explained that Flameheart might have other ambitions in mind that the Servant of the Flame does not know about. So, what plans does Flameheart have that Junior doesn't know?
People have taken this as Flameheart Senior is gonna betray his son, and I can see why they've placed this deliberately. They're giving Pendragon every chance they have, aren't they? So we've got this little note that Flameheart may be even more evil than we think, and you shouldn't vote for him. Then we have the cinematic trailer, which is all about Pendragon's sacrifice. Then we've got Heart of Fire that's come out, and Flameheart's given no real narrative depth, is he? Sorry,
Mhm.
Chris. We love you. But you did say in the Conversation podcast that you didn't want to make him sympathetic and you knew it'd piss some people off. Well, congratulations, you've done it.
Yeah.
But I think it's paying off the whole warrior thing that Mike said. I think he wants to do something with the ancients to really solidify his position as that pirate for all eternity and that force to be reckoned with. Because he's still got his prisoner, hasn't he? And we don't really know what's going on with that.
That's true. Yep.
But it would be
But
interesting to see us choose between senior and junior. But
hmm
I think if there's one person that he's not going to betray, I think it's his son.
okay, we'll see. I think it's just interesting that they put it out there. They've done it for a reason, I think, and can't wait to find out what it is.
I personally, when he comes back, I want to see that dynamic develop more than from what was teased in both the books.
Yeah,
I want to
please.
see what his real thinking was, because he doesn't seem to remember in a Heart of Fire, does he?
Yeah, no, I totally agree with that. I still have one more lore question, actually. You were talking about the Skull of the Warrior. Almost forgot it. What about the Skull of the Warrior? I mean, it would have been such a beautiful arc if that came back. You know, like I've said before, like in the first adventure of this arc, we combine pieces of a Skull of the Warrior together. In the second adventure, Stitch GM does the same, but for Flameheart's skull. So now we have these two skulls, and Flameheart's body needs a skull in this third adventure, but instead of using the Skull of the Warrior, like I wanted, it's the Skull of Stitch GM. So when and how do you feel the Skull of the Warrior will come into the story?
Adventure 13's arc. So 13, 14, no. Yeah, 13, 14, and is that right? 13, 14, and 15? Yeah, I've got my maths right.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's going to be in the next Flameheart arc, which will be Adventure 13, hopefully. Um, we don't have to go on another tangent just to give Rare a bit more time to finish making his new model.
I
Um, yeah, like it would be better if that paid off in the choice, or maybe, you know, the servant stole the skull. Something like that would have been a cool payoff, and then you would have that gateway for the Great Warrior and Flameheart combining to become that ultimate force, and that would make
Mhm.
the choice that bit more desperate. Because if it comes back, if Flameheart comes back, he's not going to only be a skeleton lord, the most powerful one that's in the lore, but he's going to be bolstered by a demigod's powers, and that's really dangerous.
Would be cool. Yeah, so sadly, I think we need to wait a little bit before we see the Skull of the Warrior, which is a shame.
Ideally, I want the Great Warrior to come back and be the thing that, oh, we're going to use him to destroy Flameheart once and for all, and Flameheart just destroys him and takes his
Yeah.
power. I think that would
Yes.
be a good way to, as Chris says, make Flameheart into that Vader sort of character where he is someone you should be scared of and he's not going to go down easily. It's hinted at in
Yes.
the books, but in the game, his extent of the threatening nature is that ominous plans and, he's always scheming and he's the bobblehead in the sky, but you need to sort of reverse that meme status into the big bad of Sea of Thieves and then play with that a bit more.
Hi.
Yeah,
All
that's
right.
pretty
Yeah.
much how I feel about it.
Then I only have one more question left before we go to the messages, and this is quite interesting. Like I've been thinking about your future choices because we're gonna have at least one more next year, and I feel there's gonna be plenty more after that actually because it's great for community. It's great to get that retention. It's great to get everybody hyped if the choices are good. Um, but one thing that kind of troubles me, and I know it troubles you too, is that the adventures are always focused from the Athena's perspective. So when people have a chance to go for the Reaper side, they're like, oh, fuck it, we've been playing for Athena for so long, I'm gonna go Reaper now. So do you feel the lack of Reaper focused adventures are hurting the chances for Pendragon and other future choices since people are always sick of fighting for Athena?
Um, Not necessarily. So I think it hurts the weight of the choice. Um, I think you've got two sides of this perspective here. So if you're working with Athena all the time, which we are until the choices come along, you're told the servant's bad, the reapers are bad, Flameheart's bad, and you don't
Mm,
get any of the other side of the story, and you shouldn't have people that need to read subtext and pull a thesis out on like the whole ideology of Sea of Thieves and what's right and what's not. I shouldn't have to tell you why not everyone's like black and white in the Sea of Thieves. Like the story sort of lets on, like Athena's good, Reapers are bad, or everyone else is bad. Um, so then you have people going for Pendragon because they're told the bad guys are bad for being the sake of bad. But in on the other hand, if you do get the game showing more players that, this is what the Reapers want to do, and this is why Flameheart is the way he is, and this is what's wrong with the trading companies, the GMU, blah blah blah,
mm,
Athena's fortune,
mhm,
that would also bring people over to the Reaper side. I think most importantly, it just harms the narrative of the immersion where Rare want us to they want us to role play, right?
mhm,
And they want us to have our own sort of set of rules as long as it doesn't break the terms of service. And
mhm,
we generally would fall into that more sort of, PvP everyone, fight everyone, kill everyone. But that's the way we play, and other people don't play that way. But
mhm,
when it comes to the story and this whole narrative where you're Athena, 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 and then you get the choice to play as a Reaper, you're like, well, this is just really shallow because Reapers never get their own adventures where you have to see what they're about. And it just hurts the narrative and the weight of these choices and that role play aspect that I think most people want to see out of this game.
mhm. Yeah,
So,
that's true.
yeah, to ramble on, I think it hurts it in some ways, and I think it's positive in other ways. Like it's biased, but also it cuts both ways. Like you said, that because people are fed up with being with the good guys, it pushes other
Yeah.
people to fight harder for Reapers. So
Mhm,
it would be nice that when we get this next arc after the Briggsy arc that we look to be getting, that we just have like a Reaper adventure or two, or
Yeah.
maybe an arc. Like, here's the Servant of the Flame. Flameheart's now back. Fingers crossed that's going to happen. This is why you need to worry about Athena's fortune. This is what's happened with the GMU. This is why we don't like the trading companies, and show it from a more sympathetic or at least understandable perspective.
Hmm. Yeah.
And even bring that Flameheart manipulation into it, and like get him to be that sort of that leader that sort of, I don't know, twists your viewpoint or makes you see it from a different perspective. Because obviously they're the more evil faction, but they're not as bad as the Dark Brethren or the GMU. So use that angle.
Hmm.
There we go. I'll shut
Yeah.
up now.
Yeah, no, it's fine. That's a fair assessment. And I'm not going to respond to it because otherwise it will be a 2 hour long podcast.
In that sense, I have a quick question for you.
Yeah.
What sides would you like to see next? Because I think we both agree that it's time for a break from Reaper versus Athena.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, please do. I just want to see some infection choices like Flamehort or Flamehort Jr. or fighting for Stitcher Jim's life or Junior's life. Maybe even deciding a certain course for exploration. Like, oh, we have found these maps, but we can only make an expedition to go to either the icy region or the underwater region. What do you choose? Or GMU related as well. Like, do you want to fight for a GMU if they offer a lot of money or not? But you will lose more freedom in the seas and not have it be about Reapers and Athena, but more about your personal views to the GMU and stuff like that.
The way the factions are set up has loads of potential for that. So you could have like Wanda versus Belle. You could have Duke versus Lorena. That would be a really
Mm-hmm.
cool one. You could have like Flameheart versus the Sovereigns. There's so much scope for it. And
I
don't just stick it with, oh, Athena's good, Reapers are bad. You're blue or
I
red or green and red, whatever colours you want to choose. Let's go for purple versus yellow next time, you know?
Yeah, I agree. And it's also a bit like I'm a bit fearful for one side always winning. Like, obviously, that's not going to be the case now, since we. Well, I mean, like I'm saying, like it's a done deal, but it pretty much is, isn't it? Um, like Athena went first. Reaper's probably going to win this one, so that's fine. But if Athena would have won like 3 times in a row, or Reapers would win 3 times in a row, like it discouraged the other side, and they're not having fun. Like we're putting this effort in, but my choice is the thing as I want is not coming, and they'll lose interest. And then you have this big pile of either faction becoming bigger and bigger, which would mean that the choices would even be further apart, the final results. So I feel you really need to change it up and not have Athena versus Reapers every time.
Yeah, exactly. I agree.
Always nice when we do. Uh, so let's go to the message in a bottle. This is a segment of the podcast where our listeners can send in their own questions and we answer them. If you want to send in your own questions, you can join the Salty Hippo Discord. Link will be in the YouTube description. And we have amazing questions this time. And the first one is from Jark. His question is: in Return of the Damned, we enchant the bewitching doll with the soul of the Soul Flame Captain. Is this binding magic? If so, does this mean that our pirates now know binding magic, or is it just the power of the bewitching doll? If either of you hasn't made one already, I'd love a video going over the different dark relics and what they do. And I can tell you right now, Jark, that I'm not going to make that video. Maybe Ray will, but the dark relics are really there to do whatever the plot wants them to do. That's how I feel about it, at least. Yeah, we've seen the ship being used when there's a ship involved. We see the dolls involved when humans are involved. So there's some difference between them, but I think what the plot needs to do, that's how the relics are getting chosen.
We see we, we
Yeah.
see these sharks used for Shrouded Deep as well.
For example. And if there's another shark that needs to be summoned or something like that, we'll use those relics again. But it's not a hard magic system in the sea, so there you go.
Yeah, I don't think we know binding magic. I think it's a case of just the dark relics can be powered up. Like,
Yeah.
binding, you can bind someone to pretty much anything, be a skull, be a chest, be a, an ice cream, let's say.
Yeah, but it's binding a soul to an object, right?
Yeah, not energy. And the soul
Yeah.
flames are energy. It's an energy
energy.
source, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. Even though the name Soul is in it, it's more energy. I indeed. That's how you need to see it.
It's cool though that
Uh,
they've made the relics correspond to certain factors, though, isn't it?
yeah,
Yeah,
it's
just
nice attention to detail
I only
still. Yeah.
only twigged when you brought that up, and it reminded me of the Shrouded Deep. And God, I love the Shrouded Deep. I wish that was replayable.
Uh, I know. I'm kind of cool with it, to be honest. Like real quick, because you saw the Shrouded Ghost, and it was a really cool moment. But if you can just go to the Shrouded Ghost every single time, I'm like, nah, I wouldn't like that.
Should have been read more. Anyways,
Yes. Yeah, no, you're totally right. Next question comes from Ilwash. Now that we know Jim's skull has been used for the Flameheart's resurrection ritual, how do you see him being used in the future? His skull is destroyed. Maybe he'll be resurrected like the other Ashen Lords, or do you think he'll be a dropped plotline like so many other things at this moment?
red ghost, red ghost. I want
So
him to be a red ghost. Yeah,
yeah, I would like that as well. Like we meet Jim in the Sea of the Damned, and his soul is there, and his soul is red because he was an Ashen Lord. I think that would make sense. I don't feel his skull is destroyed. Like to me, even if I think the explanation is lame, to me it is still Jim's skull shaped into Flameheart's resemblance. So I don't think his skull is destroyed. To me.
no, I don't think Jim's not destroyed, and I don't think the skull is necessary. Just like you said, it's been transmutated into Flameheart's likeness.
So, what do you think happened to his soul? Do you think it's binded to his skull, binded to his the rest of his remains, or do you think his soul is in the Sea of the Damned?
I reckon Sea of the Damned. So when we defeat the other Ashen Lords, they seem to explode, and I think their souls just go to the Sea of the Damned. Then
Yeah, I feel the same, and I really hope we'll see Jim again.
there's no excuse to leave it for another 2.5 years, Rare.
Well, you never know. So, thanks for that question, Ilwash. I hope it answers it. The next question comes from Captain Jägner. We already answered your question about the results being visible, but his other question is it's a great one. Do you think there is something like a cinematic prepared for the outcome of this adventure?
No,
Should there be a cinematic prepared for the outcome of this adventure?
logically yes, monetarily no, because they're quite
Mm.
expensive to make, as Joni likes to remind us. Like he's doing us a solid. Um,
Hmm.
they're not going to pay for two separate cinematics unless they're very slightly different. And I can see it being an hour-long results thing where we show some posters and some nasty messages people sent each other because we're engaged in the content. And then at the
Hmm.
end, it's going to be like, oh, yeah, Flameheart's resurrected, 89% to 11 or something. God, that's just jinxed, isn't it? No, obviously we're going to get the season 8 news as well, which was announced just before the recording started for this podcast.
Hmm.
Um, I think they've learned the lesson. They will give us the results pretty early on. We won't get a cinematic, and then we'll move into some season 8 stuff to make that stream really juicy because it's only 5 days after the results. Because it's the 22nd of November that season 8's coming out, which is awesome.
Mm.
Um, yeah, so they're going to move on straight onto season 8, and then we can move on to a new season, get hyped, and Sea of Thieves can be back on top again. Fingers crossed.
All right. Yeah, I have nothing to add to that. Would be nice, cinematic, but we're not gonna get it. Are you sure we're gonna get a reveal stream? Is that confirmed?
Yeah, it's confirmed. It was confirmed like 4 o'clock today.
All right. Well, there you go. And I'm guessing we'll be watching it live, right?
Yeah, definitely.
All right. Even though I'll be pretty neutral with my emotions either way.
He'll be like, oh, Flameheart's revived. Oh no, yeah. Ooh, ooh.
Yeah, it's too bad. Like I was passionate about Golden Sands, but whatever. We talked about this. So thanks for that question, Jägner. The next one comes from speaker Sot. Do you think the choices should continue to be sacrifices from things we like, or should they be more diversive, like presenting two entirely new things and you can only have one? I think we kind of answered this already, right?
Yeah, I think that was Rare's goal to make Pendragon a more viable choice that we might lose him forever, but it
Mm-hmm.
ended up doing next to nothing. Because let's face it, if Pendragon wasn't going to be ditched, it would be like 95 to 5% for Flameheart to come back.
Yeah, I mean that's the only reason why I'm against Flameheart, because I like Pendragon. If that was out of the equation, yeah, Flameheart all the way. But yeah, to answer your question again, yeah, we want more choices, not Reaper against Athena. Oh wait, no, let's answer it properly. Do we want the other choices to be sacrifices or new things?
New stuff would be nice, unless it's something crazy like, oh, if you choose this, you get a PvP update. If you don't, there's PvE servers. Like,
Yeah, but that's never gonna happen, because they have their content planned, and that's not gonna change because of these choices. These choices are the outcome of these choices are always way smaller than people think they are. Like, yeah, obviously, Golden Sand seems really big, but it's still, it's gonna transform into a port town or whatever. But it's not gonna change the PvP content. Like, that's was already planned, and we're still getting it in season 8. Like, it's not like, oh, Flameheart won or Lost Sands was destroyed, so now we're gonna do the PvP update. I mean, that's never gonna happen.
essentially, like the choices aren't they're not so massive that Rare have to alter loads of development for it.
Mm-hmm.
The point, like, let's say with Golden Sands or Lost Sands, should we say, there's about 5 months of waiting to get results on that, maybe a bit less. Um, and it's as simple as changing an outpost and doing the art for that. It's not like if Flameheart wins, the bobblehead's coming back. It's not. I don't know why people think that's going to happen. Maybe if he loses, we don't know. But when you look at it, when you get this whole, I guess, is playing into the rigged idea, which really pisses me off, by the way. People think they're like
Mm-hmm.
5 head smart, saying, "Oh, this is rigged." Like, it's not. It's just that with a live service, they tend to be quite agile, and the adventures are made so quickly that they can literally do a short-term change very quickly, and then
Mm-hmm.
think, "Oh, how can we bake this into an arc in 3 arcs time or content that's coming up soon?" Like, they're not developing that far ahead of time, guys.
Yeah. Yeah, and a lot of stuff is set in stone. Like, the outcomes of these adventures, they don't really affect the main content.
I'm glad. Has this whole rigging discourse annoyed you as well?
I don't really get it, to be honest. In my comments, like the occasional comment, but and then I say no, it's not rigged, and then they shut up.
I see it all over Reddit and a lot of my YouTube comments like, "Oh, Rare have already decided what's going to happen. It's just the illusion of choice." And you're like,
Hmm.
"But why would they do that? Why would they spend all this development time,
Yeah,
all the
agree.
marketing, the fucking trailers, which Joe says they're expensive, just to
Hmm.
give us the illusion of choice? They could just spend the time on, I don't know, a new world event or a new tall tale or what have you, like,
I
and go through the social media trouble. Yeah, they want engagement on their game, but they're not going to lie about something like that, because if it came
I
out, if it ever leaked, which leaks happen with Sea of Thieves all the time, everyone would go apeshit. So they're not going to risk.
and it's fun for them too. Like, they're passionate about their game. Like, it keeps them motivated as well, not knowing what the community will choose. And you have to keep that in mind as well.
Yeah, it was like people say, "Oh, in the last stream, they just pretended like they didn't know what was going to happen," and like, oh, they'd be very good actors if they
Yeah,
played that off for the whole.
and they're not.
And like when you like speak to people that are really passionate, like when we had Mike on, you could tell, he's very passionate about developing this
Yeah,
game, because otherwise he would have left by now. He would have been sick of it after like 8 years. And you speak to
I
like Joe as well, the community manager. She
I
loves the game, and you can tell she's genuinely excited when these things come out, and she works on the game.
yeah.
Um, so yeah, I think people have their gripes with Rare in certain content glitches, whatever you think of season 7 and the bugs and stuff, and they extrapolate that and try and dig into other things, which you're barking up the wrong tree. And
I
this comes from someone who's quite critical about the game.
hmm
I think people just need to shut up sometimes.
Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah, like, you don't know shit. It's not fake.
And I'm not saying that because, oh, I haven't seen this beef partner that laughs in inside. Is like, you know just use your brain.
I That's good general advice. Yeah, I agree. If nothing to add to that. Well, I have one thing to add to that. If they were lying about it, it would take so much emotional energy to keep it up. they'll just be depressed and they're not depressed. So there you go.
Exactly.
So the next question, you can take the next question, Ray.
So the next question comes from Thrumsu, and he asks, how will the conclusion of this adventure affect Junior? He is currently an edgelord with barely any characteristic features. Can reuniting with his father and completing his main goal for the past few years give him space to shine as a character, or can banishing Flameheart make him shine as a vengeful character and regain his characteristic features? Or is he doomed to be plain edgelord, quotation marks now, for all eternity? So what do we
Yeah,
think? What do we think about that? Thormsu's
yeah, I
not a
like.
negative person, is he?
Not at all. Um, but that's a good one because I'm pretty disappointed with Junior. Ever since he has his voice, like I really hate his voice, and it makes him feel pretty one dimensional. So yes, I hope he'll get more development. Will the conclusion of his adventure do that? Um, yeah, I hope so. I hope so. His father is quote unquote alive again, so I think he'll change for that. Yeah.
It would be interesting because you do have this worry that Flameheart's going to just overshadow the servant now that he's back. Because he's a larger character, like not physically, but he's a larger personality, isn't he?
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah. So what would his role be? Like, I think he will still collect your treasure when you bring it to the hideout.
do you know what I think a big problem with Junior's character at the moment is?
Yeah.
He's just like Reaper, like Head Reaper. Like he's
Mm-hmm.
got the red cloak, he's got the symbols on him, and he's got the mask. And don't get me wrong, his design is cool, but he's just like, Reaper Captain. That's the way I picture him. Whereas Athena all have their own visual identity. Be it some of them ghosts now, but they all look distinct in their style and they all look iconic. And the servant
Mm-hmm.
does in his own right. But when you compare him to Flameheart's design, you look at Flameheart and say, "Oh yeah, he's a fiery skeleton lord," but he doesn't give that like head of the Reaper vibe. Do you know what I mean? I know he's the head of a
Mm-hmm.
trading company, um, but I think when I picture Flameheart Junior, even as a skeleton lord, I picture him very different to the Servant of the Flame. And I
Yeah.
think Rare needs to, over the coming months now or years, carve out a new visual identity for him and get him to take off his mask as well when his dad's back. That's
Yeah.
like the first step of him becoming his own character then.
Yeah.
Um,
Good point. That mask needs to go. Yeah.
I think if he does get the Silver Blade back, he needs to go for like a Silver Blade sort of vibe.
Hmm.
Or maybe if the Golden Blade is a lore thing, he can go for like a more gold and red, like he is now, but give it his own unique flair and ditch the mask as well.
Because what is his motivation of resurrecting Flameheart? Just he wants his dad back? Is that it?
He wants his dad back, and we don't have any exploration of that relationship outside of what he tells us in the book.
Yeah, like they had a good time together until Flameheart stopped visiting, and then he wanted his own adventures, and he was a bit of a scholar, and he just didn't really care about gold. He just wanted to have an adventure, and we don't really see that in his character at all. So where is that? Where is that lore guy? Where is that scholar? I want that back on the foreground again, or maybe he lost it because he's a skeleton now. But then you're just like any other skeleton, which is boring.
You just have that negative space from when he meets the Catman up until when he comes back and starts the Reaper's Bones. Like that character development is missing, and
Mm-hmm.
it would be nice to see that explored. But the way the
Yeah.
story's set up now, there's no room for Junior and the Catman. Well, the Catman's going to come next year, obviously. Um, but that dynamic has just been left in the book, and it wasn't really built upon by Chris in Heart of Fire, which is crying shame. Like you
Yeah.
had the option to develop Flameheart Senior and Flameheart Junior in their relationship, and it was sort of pushed aside for other people's origin stories.
Yeah, that's
Um,
true.
and at the pace the books are coming out, there's probably only going to be one more in Sea of Thieves' life cycle, and it's probably going to be about the Catman. So yeah,
Oh, bold statement.
but yeah, I think it's going to be about the Catman, and I think it's going to come out in 2 or 3 years' time. But we'll see. A Tall Tale would do Junior justice, or a group of Tall Tales when the Catman comes back, not adventures, because I think that's
Yeah.
adventures are harming the quality of the story at the moment. To come off the tangent and go back to your question, Thrumsu, if Flameheart isn't resurrected, I would like Junior to step up into that role. and have him seek out the power that if he can't bring back his father, that becomes like a plot point that's brushed to the side, and he needs to take up that moniker as he always was destined to in the book. Give him his own personality, his chance to shine, but also make him as deadly as Captain Flameheart Senior, and have that transformation from, just the Servant of the Flame to Captain Flameheart Junior, if that makes sense. Like, he brings the moniker back rather than staying as the Servant of the Flame.
Although I do feel that it would be a nice choice to choose between Junior and Flameheart to rule the Reapers. Also because it's kind of setting up with Flameheart keeping things hidden for his son. So, how do you feel about that?
I think it would really damage the background you've set up with this relationship and destroy any mystique or nuance to it that Flameheart's just so obsessed with domination that he'll even betray his own son. It's actually out of character when considering he saved him out of some sliver of sympathy during the start of the book. So it's not good character building.
Or maybe Junior is resurrecting Flameheart to harness his power for the captain.
That would be more interesting.
Yeah.
That could be conflict between the two of them, and it would lead to reconciliation and the defeat of the captain through, that's my son, leave him alone, dickhead, that sort of thing. But we'll see how Rare handles it, because, if you ask people like Toronto or Ewalsh, they're definitely not going to do that.
Yeah, that's true. To be fair, I'm also a little bit more negative than I used to be about the story. Especially after the disappointment of Heart of Fire. Like, still really enjoyed the novel. I really enjoyed the novel. But not getting Flameheart does hamper it a little bit and makes me less motivated to know more about Junior and Flameheart as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, enough said about Flameheart.
Yeah,
about Heart of Fire, because we could have another podcast on that.
And we'll cry in the end, and we don't want that.
Yeah, thanks, Chris. Thanks, Chris.
We love you, Chris. We really do.
No, we would like Chris on the podcast so we can ask him about his decisions face to face.
You can explain himself. All right.
Explain yourself, Chris. Why have you broken my heart?
And how you'll make up for it in your next novel.
Write Flameheart Part 2, Electric Boogaloo.
All right. Let's go to the final question. That one comes from Firebird. I think Flameheart should win because we will probably get a skeleton curse from him winning. And I don't know about you, but I like the idea of doing some trolling with that curse. But I think if Pendragon wins, we will maybe get a ghost curse, making us look like Pendragon. So I don't think you have to fear at all. Like, they have been teasing the skeleton curse now for a while. Also with their post, not once, I think they've done it 3 times now that we've seen something resembling a skeleton curse. So that's going to happen either way. Like, a lot of people were saying, like, if Lost Sands, if Athena wins, we won't get a skeleton curse, so we need to ruin Golden Sands. Well, obviously, that was not the case. And I feel that's going to be with this choice as well. Like, some stuff they have planned, like, they're never going to not give us content if they have that idea. If they want something in the game, they're going to do it, no matter what choice we choose. And the same goes for the Ghost Curse. Like, I think it's pretty inevitable that eventually we will also get a Ghost Curse. I don't know how you feel about that.
Yeah, I agree. But just in case, make sure you vote for Flameheart, just in case they do pull that curse away from us, the skeleton curse.
I think those arguments should not be there with these choices. It should more be like a choice of morality, obviously, but also like, what will they add when our side wins? What will they add? And I felt that they should repair the Black Witch if Pendragon wins, because I feel that that's a long-term goal. Like, they don't need to act on it right now, and it's something that adds to it and doesn't take content away that they might have planned.
It would have been better if Pendragon is saved, he becomes alive again. That would be more interesting than not dying.
That's also part of that package of the Black Witch being repaired, but yeah.
You just want Anna Cavendish and co back, don't you?
Yeah, and go to Dragon Skull. Like, people want dragons. Well, fight for Pendragon. He knows an island where there's dragons, so save him.
Could get the calcium curse if you say Flameheart, though, just saying.
There we go again. But anything you want to add to that?
No, I did lean onto it in Lost Sands that if we get our eternal award by destroying Lost Sands, and the Junior did say that. He did say we'd be one step closer.
That's
But
true.
they could obviously delay it. They could say, "Oh, it's going to take longer if you win," but they're very unlikely to do that. So don't worry too
Yeah,
much about
that's
that.
true. But don't get me wrong. Like if you want to use it in your propaganda, go right ahead.
People want the skeleton curse more, so
Uh,
go ahead. Yeah.
Hi. And yeah, if you were to choose between Ghost Curse or Skeleton Curse.
Me?
Mm-hmm.
Does the Pope shit in the woods? Like, of course I'm
All
gonna go
right,
for skeleton
yeah,
curse.
there you go.
as long as I can still have my hair and my jacket.
Yeah, and same for me. Like Ghost Curse is way more interesting. But I've got the Spinal outfit. I'm happy. That's my favorite skeleton anyway. So there you go.
God, not even. Oof.
Wait, you don't like the Spinal Curse?
No, I think the spinal costume is the best costume they've done. It's just I wouldn't say Spinal's anywhere near my favorite skeleton. Not when Mr. Bones and his wild ride exists.
Mr. Bones?
But they'll get the joke. It's an old meme. It's an older meme, but it checks out.
All right, I'll trust you on that. So we're rambling again. So thanks again to those that submitted their questions. And again, make sure to join the Salty Hippo Discord if you want to submit your own. I always post an announcement when we are close to recording a new episode. I also want to remind all listeners that this podcast is on Spotify and Amazon Music. It will be there a few days, weeks, years later after it's on YouTube. You can listen to us there if that's more convenient. And you can also follow us on Twitter at BestCOT Podcast. Link to that will be in the description. So, we've come to the end of this podcast, and I want to thank my wonderful co-host for being amazing. And can you tell our listeners where they can find your content?
Yeah, I'm currently at the Reaper's hideout, just chilling, waiting for Fatty Bones to come back. So you can find me at AShinyRay on YouTube. Just put my name in the search bar, and you can find me at AShinyRayquaza on Twitter. So yeah, feel free to say hello, comment, like, subscribe, drop me a message, tweet me, whatever. I tend to respond to everyone.
Yeah, and exactly the same for me, only you need to type in Captain Blubber, and that's it, and you will find me. So make sure you give this podcast a thumbs up, that's always appreciated, and let us know your opinion about everything we discussed in this podcast. So that's it. Thanks for listening. Have fun on the seas and never give up the good fight.
Take care, guys, and don't forget to resurrect Captain Flameheart.
There you go. That's way better. All right, good.